As a black person, I have been racially discriminated against a lot in my life, but the most recent one was probably the worst. In the summer, I worked for a store in the mall. I got really close with some of the coworkers. It was a fun experience, but I got too close with these people to where I started knowing some personal things about their lives. I got invited to a birthday party for one of the girls, 2 hours out in the middle of nowhere in Delaware. I don't even know what the city was called. As soon as I got there, I saw a bunch of Trump flags, a bunch of Blue Lives Matter flags. I mean, I didn't say anything about it because I respect everybody's political choices, but I was a little uncomfortable. Her fiance used the N-word a lot in his vocabulary, and it made me a little uncomfy. He was white. He got really drunk at the end of the night, and he was aggressively using the N-word, and I was the only person of color there. I politely asked him to stop using it, and he got very aggressive and got really close to my face and called me the N-word 5 times and said, "It's 2020, you need to get over it." I felt hurt because these people are supposed to be my friends. These are the people I spent the whole summer with, and no one defended me in that moment. No one told him to move. No one told him to stop. I felt angry, but it's only but so much you can do as a tiny female in front of a big man. I was sad. I don't know, I was confused. I felt so much in that moment. I feel like if I didn't speak up for myself, that probably wouldn't have happened, but I would have just continued to feel uncomfortable the whole night if I didn't say anything. I feel like you should speak up, even if it's gonna cause something bad. I do feel like a lot of people on campus are not aware that what they do hurts people, like their use of the N-word or just what they do in general. Like, I know a lot of people think that saying it in songs is harmless, but it could hurt other people having it in their vocabulary just because they grew up around black people. I don't think it's okay.
With the tragic death of George Floyd, I think that America, quote unquote, woke up and understood that, oh, this is an actual real problem. With the consciousness of people awake now, I think that people are going to just be a little bit more cautious and courteous about the things that they say and the things that they do, because the sensitivity to racial injustice has increased. I think that the change that occurred, like I said, was people's sensitivity to the issue. Because people actually see it as an issue, and they're not trying to justify the murder as quick as they would do 5-6 years ago. It's like, all right, he got killed, but what did he do? But with the murders that transpired this summer, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery a few years ago, but his murder just kind of surfaced and came to the light this summer, Elijah McClain, others like that. People are actually saying like, oh, like they're a little bit more empathetic to the issue. So I think that people's empathy has increased, and I think that that's been a positive change. One of my relatives, he was talking to me about how he got pulled over and he was coming from a church service. And for the cop assumed that he had drugs and guns in the car, the cop was basically like almost making him say like that he had drugs or guns in the car, because he constantly asked the question, hey, do you have drugs or guns in the car? Do you have drugs or guns in the car? It got to the point where my relative had to be like, no, like I just came from church, like that's not how I am. And hearing that experience is like, wow, like cops really have a idea, or some cops, not all, have an idea of what a typical African American male is, and then when they get pulled over, it's like, okay, like, all right, what did you do wrong? So that's definitely an experience that really hit close to home and showed me that racial profiling, it's not just in the South, it's not just in the middle of the state as far as Pennsylvania goes, it's not just in these obsolete places, but racial profiling, racism can hit close to home. Future changes, I think that the educational system has to change completely. We've been feeding our students lies for years. I think that you have to tell the whole story. Like if you're going to tell me that George Washington was an American war hero, also tell me that he owned 300 slaves. The same thing with Thomas Jefferson and pretty much all the founding fathers. You want to tell the complete story of history. Also, I think that African American history deserves more than just you guys were slaves, that's it. You need to tell people about Garrett Morgan, the person who invented the traffic light. You need to tell people about African Americans who were innovators and who were doctors and stuff like that, because most of the African Americans that we hear about in school were civil rights leaders and stuff like that. Not that there's nothing wrong with that, but we contributed more to America than just fighting for civil rights. Young African American students coming up in school, I think that they deserve to know that we did more than just sit on a bus. We did more than just say no to a white person when he asked for my seat on the bus, or we did more than just recite our "I Have a Dream" speech, but we actually contributed to the culture of America as we know it today. So I think that that's one key change that I think needs to happen. People need to genuinely love each other for them being human, not look at what I think you are, but actually sit down and hear your story and hear where you're coming from, and then we can move forward and have a conversation. So I think love is the root of everything, and I think that when we look at each other as human beings and fellow image bearers of God, I think that that's when real positive change is going to happen.